Hello, Pearl. How are you?
Hi, I'm really well,
This
really well.
this is the first time that I've had a live conversation with someone kind of literally on the other side of the world. So this is a new experience for me.
Myself also.
And the wonderful thing about it is that we kind of connected through a poem I wrote. I had no idea, I was alone writing these words 20 years ago now, and
Wow.
that they could connect to someone, on the other side of the world, which I kind of take a lot of heart from that. It speaks a little bit to the universality, I guess, of the human spirit. That if we can tap into something via art, that we can reach someone on the other side of
Mm.
the world.
So I have all of the bits from the art piece that I then animated in 700 photographs.
Wow.
But I think that one of the reasons that it did speak to me, and as you spoke about all the different examples of people that found your poem, I fractured my spine I fractured the top of my skull in December. So
Oh,
my lockdown started early and I'm only recently out of my neck brace. So I've had quite the journey starting my lockdown early. So I found that I had actually become accustomed to being in the belly of the whale myself. Everyone's going off to work. I'm at home. I'm painting. I'm making art. I'm keeping myself productive and distracted because I was quite bound to home. Then when the COVID lockdown started to happen, I felt that there was a lot of anxiety and distress in the world about what do we do while we're home. And I thought that your poem really had a real settling effect of like, we just need to wait. And I felt that because I'd already been in that belly, that I had that I could keep that quiet momentum in a way
yeah.
of helping people just breathe. Just, we can just be here. And I just loved your listing of let's think about all the things we can do.
There's a moment in the poem. The speaker says, um, "Be grateful you're here where you can rest and wait." I think that
Mm,
a lot of people respond to that line, but the idea of being grateful in an unfortunate circumstance, is can seem very strange. But in a lot of ways, desperate circumstances can open our eyes to things we're blind to all the time. It feels like, there's a,
completely.
there's a little quote from the filmmaker David Lynch. He one time talked about how when he was at the very bottom of his career and was absolutely broke and desperate, had felt like he had no hope. He said the world was so beautiful from down there because
Mm-hmm.
everything was up above him and everything was, you know, and when we feel like we're in something of a hopeless situation, there's also, it seems like, an opportunity there to see all of the possibilities that might be there that we took for granted
Completely.
before. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that was the experience of being in a neck brace and my fracture. It was a cycling accident, by the way. Yeah. But I definitely, there was this resting pause for me in my life, and that sense of, um, in the words around that before that, I was treading water. We were all treading water anyway. There was not this before, and yeah, before this sense of being in that belly, it's not like we were any more found or had any idea of what we were doing. We were just busier and more active and more anxious about what we were doing. Now we have to sit with all of that. And I found a complete sense of surrender and real beauty in that, because as you say, everything was above me and I literally, my neck was like this, so I could only look up. um yeah, so I think that that speaks so much to that in that way as well.
but I'm always most moved by yours. And I think part of it is that there's that beautiful music, the beautiful piano
Mm.
and you engage with the words visually. Um, you read the poem with the eyes like you might encounter it in a book while hearing the score for it. And there's something just haunting about that, and it is the way it captures that sense of while you're receiving words, you're still in that realm of quiet. I think your video quite captures it.
I think, yeah, thank you so much, Dan. I think that was really a lot of the feedback I got from it, from quite a lot of people, both on the YouTube and also kind of reaching out to me personally, were people that said, I could feel myself breathing. I was aware of myself in it, and I slowed down to the pace of it,
Yeah.
which I think is so lovely because we are so caught up in the world, and we're so we are in control of the pace that we read at often. So it's like, oh, here's a poem, I'll skim read it, and then I'll get on to the next thing. And I don't think I intentionally meant for it to actually, I didn't have a huge amount of intentions at the start of it. I wanted to animate your poem.
That's great.
And I think that the pace that it came at was, well, I needed to make it slow enough to read. And that I really wanted to be an invitation into the pauses that I wanted to create. And I think it speaks to, it must be something I'm very, very interested in, because my final year, I studied at the College of Fine Arts in Sydney. And my final year, I took a video subject, and I really wasn't very interested in it at all. But my final piece was typing, and so screen filming, typing out the words to an Edna St. Vincent Millay poem, God's World, 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 I cannot hold you close enough. And I just typed those words out at the pace that I thought people should read them. And then I projected that up onto a entire wall of leaves I had pinned up onto a gallery wall. So there must be something in me that wants to help people connect to the slowness of reading in a very visual, embodied way. It's good to know. Good to know about myself. Sometimes we don't realize these things until we're piecing them together in our own art practice.
Yeah, that the pauses that you have in the phrasing of the poem, you really were sensitive to some kind of internal implicit syntactical pauses that are there. They're not necessarily represented by the poem's line breaks. The poem does have line breaks. It's a long lined poem, but some people, because it's so long lined, have assumed it's a prose poem, and it's not. There are deliberate line breaks there, but a lot of enjambment. And a lot of times there's this implicit pause that when I would read it aloud, I would pause in the middle of a line, because I think syntactically it called for it in a way that isn't cued by the typing. But you were catching on those phrases very much in the way you were delivering it in chunks.
Which is interesting because I actually, look, I'm over here in Melbourne. We hadn't met. I didn't ask permission to use your poem. I was doing this little church. Yeah, thank you. Doing this little church project. I put it up on YouTube specifically so I could share it with some people. I didn't, and so in a way, I actually felt that responsible for those words, and it wasn't a collaboration that you and I had gone, okay, so this is what we're going to do, this is what the poet wants out of it, this is what the paper artist. But there was just a sense of running around my house and scrambling up paper and breaking rulers, and just how to viscerally bring people into your words and taking poetic license with those pauses.